uh, a government ought to protect and encourage free speech because free speech is an activity that is conducive to a healthy nation and thus is in the best interest of its people.
Okay, so what's our conclusion?
A government ought to protect and encourage free speech.
Yep, and why are they saying that?
They're saying that because free speech is like conducive to a healthy nation and is like in the best interest of its people.
Yeah. And so what is this argument assuming about um, being conducive to a healthy nation and things that are in the interest of its best people?
So what's a assumption they're making about that?
Yeah, like what are we, yeah. Like why
Um,
should we protect those things?
because those things are like necessary for like to run a nation, or
Doing,
like that those things are essential for like because
you're on the right track. Like we must think that these things are at least good, right?
yeah,
I mean, this is where these are hard when they're kind of common sense. Like to me, this sounds like a great argument. Yeah, you should, because we want to be a healthy nation and we want to have what's in the best interest of its people. But
and saying that
actually,
the
we don't
government
know that.
yeah, and saying that the government too, it makes the assumption that the government it's like responsibility is
Yeah.
to yeah.
So what sufficient assumption could we say here, or what answer choice could we pick that would guarantee this conclusion?
um that um this is best interest of its people, um that it's necessary for a nation to be healthy.
But does that like what if we just said a government ought to do anything that is in the interest of its people, or a government ought to do anything that's conducive to a healthy nation? It can be even simpler than what you're predicting, which you're on the right track though. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we're connecting like our premises to our conclusion. So go ahead and look through these and answer choices and let me know what you think. Tell me love it, leave it, or hate it for A.
An activity that is in the best interest of people ought to be protected and nation's government. Um, I I like that one.
All right, next one.
Basic inalienable rights of the people ought to be protected and encouraged by the government. Well, I don't love that one because we don't talk about inalienable rights.
Yep, we have no idea what these are.
Yeah. Next, an activity that helps the government to govern ought to be protected and encouraged by it. I don't love that one because we don't talk about speech in the form of helping the government.
No, you're exactly right. We don't know that it helps the government or not. Maybe free speech actually hurts the government or yeah.
Okay. And a government ought to protect and encourage an activity that is conducive to the interests of that government. Again, we didn't talk about what's conducive to the interest of that government
Perfect. They just put a lot of words in here that they use, but not in the right order.
because we were talking about what's like conducive to the interest of the people.
Yep.
Okay. And then E, universal human rights that are in the best interest of the people ought to be protected and encouraged by the nation's government. We didn't talk about speech as a universal human right.
Excellent. And so our answer is going to be A. But can you see here, like if you kind of don't predict an answer, how a lot of those answer choices would sound so good, which I know
Mm-hmm.
are more analytical, so you might be better at like, you are really good at thinking, they don't say that, which is excellent. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they can all run together.